Well, what I'm doing is playing around with 4198 in the 35 Remington. It's not a powder that I normally use. Though it's funny, anytime you look at reloading information, reloading data, with cast bullets, you're always going to find a recommendation, and usually it's rated pretty highly for 4198. But personally, I have never had much luck with 4198. But I've got a lot of it. I must have like 5 pounds of it. And I always have a theory, well, maybe sometimes some gun it'll work in. So I try. And that's what I'm doing now, because it's a good time to try it. When you're limited to what powders you can get, kind of use what I got. But I got a lot of powders. But this isn't one that, like I say, I have ever found to work well, like say in the 4570. I've never been, a lot of times with cast, they always have this theory you're using a powder with a fast burn rate, a small amount of fast burning powder. Well, I'm more fond of going the other way and going with a fairly substantial amount of a slow burning powder. I just think it works better. But that isn't what you normally see recommended. But I had a comment about 4198 in a 4570 that I'll see if I can find. Because it was kind of interesting, but it kind of made me go, yikes. Yeah, here. I just loaded up, 46.7 grains of IMR 4198 with a 350 grain cast bullet. Think that will be a good load. And that's where I went, yikes. And then it says, I used the Hodgin data for a jacketed bullet because I couldn't find any good data for my 350 grain cast. I hope it's not too hot. I think it will be okay for my 1895 guide gun. Well, yikes again. That's a pretty damn hot load. If you look at the load data, well, just wait a second here. I got the timer running, so I better rush it because I'm about half done with my limited time here. But if you look at the load data for 4570, I don't find for 350 grains, so this bullet is a bit of a mystery to me. But here, like a 330 grain bullet cast, the maximum they have listed is 44 grains. That'll work in a Marlin. And he's well over that. And the same with the 400 grain. That's, to me, I think that's an acceptable load. I would in fact tear them apart. Well, because if you look at it, okay, like even in a Ruger number 1 or number 3, that's 330 grain. Okay, there the maximum is 49 grains of 4198. But you're trying to push that thing, a guide gun with cast bullets, with micro groove rifling undoubtedly, because I don't think guns came without it, at over 2,000 feet per second I don't know how you could do that. I think the gun would, or I mean, 20,000 feet per second, or no, 2,000. But I think the gun could survive it. Maybe I wouldn't guarantee this. You're really pushing the limit on her. That really isn't how you go about something like this. You start low and work your way up. Uh, don't go right to the maximum and hope that you can stand it, because that is going to have a hell of a bump. But you're looking at a cast bullet, like I say, in micro groove, without a gas check, trying to go 2,000 feet per second. That's really hard to do. Uh, I'm not familiar, like a 350 grain mold. I'm not familiar with that. I don't know who makes one, but somebody's always making a mold for something. So, but I would consider, well, cut the load down if you're going to use that powder. But I think there are better powders you could use. Like that 4198. Okay, like this is the relative burn rate chart that comes in the back of the Lyman book, which is a handy thing. Okay, right in the middle, because it starts fast, goes to slow. Right in the middle is 4198. Okay, now in the first place, you're using the Hodgson data to load IMR powder. You don't do that. You can't, even though the number's the same, you can't interchange them. The powders aren't identical. The burn rates are close, but the loadings will be different. You got to be, the number, it's important that it belongs to the right powder. Because that isn't far off of, like, say, the 4227, which I use in the 351. But I always think of it as that's more of a pistol powder. Though I have loaded, this is kind of a nuisance, but I only got 3 minutes left. Okay. I have loaded 4570 with 4227, but there again, small amount, and it's not my kind of thing. I think you should probably be looking at something like a 3031. You can find loaded data for that, and I think you'd be better off. It's kind of what they consider to be running, kind of straddling cast bullet powders and jacketed bullet powders is where 3031 sits. But I go even slower burning powders, but I tend to do that with long barrel rifles, But no, that stuff is not interchangeable, the data. You got to be really picky about that. You got to get for the right bullet in the right gun, and But I could really recommend that Lyman manual is a great manual, but you do have to pay attention. Loading is not a deal you really want to play around with. But the idea is start low and work up a little. Like this now, I know I'm too low. I'm too low powered on this. I'm hitting a little low, but I can jack it up a little now. But I don't start out high, because I think even if you could make that work, that's going to be a hellish bump on that thing. And with that short barrel on a guide gun, and I just think it's going to be terribly inaccurate with cast bullets in the micro groove. I don't know. So no, I don't think that would be a good load. I don't think it's an advisable load, and if you don't have a bunch of them loaded up, I'd kind of tear them apart, cut that load down a little. But like I say, 4198, I've never really had success with it, but like I said, I'm gonna try, But you really gotta. You should watch Cobra 49. He talked about reloading in a video a little while back, and he was right on the money. He knows what he's talking about there, where like powders not being interchangeable, that you really have to go by published data, not word of mouth, and gradually work up to something that's consistent and accurate and shootable because, like I say, that one, if you shoot that, the gun might survive, but you won't want to shoot another one. It's just, it's not something you really want to play around with. Especially I found 4198, part of the problem I have with it, it's not so easily scalable. Like I use a lot of 4064. It's kind of, I know where I'm at, and I know if I increase a little more, it's going to, I kind of know what I'm dealing with. But that's, again, a slower burning powder. That's kind of down really right in the Varget area. There's another good powder. If you can find data for Varget, is a very nice scalable powder. Because there's some powders, like 4227 is that way. It's really a pistol powder kind of, but I kind of consider it the 351 is kind of a pistol cartridge. But it's one of them where it's, it's okay, and then all of a sudden it's not okay anymore. You can overdo it. So I would recommend you get that Lyman manual. I really think, because I think what you have there might be a pretty dangerous recipe. I know I wouldn't want to be the first one to shoot it, because you might be the last one to shoot it. But hopefully you don't have a lot of them loaded up. But 4198, bit of a trick, but I'm working on it.